The past couple of days, I came across this atheist argument wheel. It's all very quippy and jokey and ha-ha, but I thought we'd take a look at it because underneath it all, I think that there are some serious misunderstandings. It is included in this video called All Atheist Arguments Answered in 10 Minutes by a YouTuber named Redeemed Zoomer. Surprise, surprise, dude does not answer all atheist arguments ever, and a lot of the answers are nuh-uh you. And I swear the dude must spend too much time on Reddit because a couple of those are like Reddit atheists, and I guess that's the end-all be-all? I don't know. Hi, my name is Scarlett, and I'm an atheist and skeptic, and Happy New Year if you're watching this at the beginning of the year, and happy whatever time of year if you happen upon this video at another time. As I'm making this video, it is the start of January 2024. Looking forward to another great year. Hope you'll be here with me. All right, so back to what we were talking about, this atheist argument wheel. I bipped on over to this guy's page, and I actually find that there is a 42-minute and 50-second video on the atheist argument wheel, and I haven't watched that. I'm just going to admit right up front, I haven't watched the whole exposition. I wouldn't make a whole response video based on a 42-minute video, though, so I'm not sure I'm going to watch it. So we're just going to take this wheel at face value. As I said in the intro, dude spends a lot of time on Reddit, so you see this particular meme from whatever 10 or 11 years ago. It was all over the place. I guess it's still a meme that gets shared around. I don't know. Again, this is Redeemed Zoomer, who is a Presbyterian Minecraft YouTuber, part of the PCUSA, the Presbyterian Church. So that tells you where this person is coming from. All right, with all that blibbity blab out of the way, let's look at this atheist argument wheel. I am going to start at the bottom of the clock face at number 6, Sky Daddy in all caps. And my first comment is, this isn't an argument. And I literally don't know anybody who answers Sky Daddy to, why don't you believe in God? I mean, just imagine it. Hey, what religion are you? Oh, I'm not. I'm an atheist. Well, why not? Well, Sky Daddy. It just makes no sense. What this is a sort of dismissive comment that some atheists might make to Christians who seem to posit God as a father figure. Isn't there a prayer about our Father or something? Sounds mighty familiar. And I will say, sometimes the way Christians talk, God really is like a father figure. He answers important questions like who you should marry and what your job should be, and he tells you what's right and wrong, and he's going to reward you if you believe in him and you pray to him enough. It just sounds that way. And so maybe you don't feel that way. That's fine. You don't have to be that kind of religious person. But I think that's all this is sort of a jokey comment to Christian beliefs. But I don't think that we should mistake this for any kind of argument, and so just throw this off the dial. Let's move on up. We are going to go counterclockwise because we go counter to everything on this channel. There is Cont Traditions in the Bible, parens, that the church has never noticed. And, you know, look, I make typos. I make verbal typos. I make other typos, but, you know, proofread. But moving past the typos, there are contradictions in the Bible. I don't think you can get past the fact that there are parts of the Bible that say something completely different from other parts. You can really project almost anything you want on the Bible. You can go to any part and say, I want to believe blank, and you could probably find it. Now, this parens that the church has never noticed, I don't know anybody who says that. I mean, it's a whole branch of apologetics, people trying to reconcile contradictions in the Bible. Like, how many people went to the tomb after Jesus' death, and they try to say, well, actually, we're talking from different perspectives, or at this time, or that, or something. They have explanations, and so that allows Christians to avoid thinking that there are contradictions because there's an explanation for why there are two parts of the Bible that say completely different things. But actually, this is not an argument for atheism. Again, this is not, why don't you believe in God? There are contradictions in the Bible. This is an explanation for why we don't accept the absolute truth of the Bible. We don't say that this is some perfect document. That's all this comment is. And let's remember, Christianity is not the only religion. It's not the only God that is posited. It is the primary one in the culture that I live in, but there are plenty others. So just to summarize, this isn't about really atheism. This is about whether or not you accept the perfect truth of the Bible. And we don't think that the church has never noticed. We know that the church has noticed, and that's what apologetics are about. Let's keep going counterclockwise, and we're up to number 3. Look, here is a violent Bible verse that nobody ever noticed before. All right, again, this is not an argument that atheists make. Why don't you believe in God? Violent Bible verse. No, that's not the way it works. Noticing the violence in the Bible is about the positing of some all-good, all-loving God that Christians say, the triomni God that we know, and say, if God is so good, why did he order violence in the Bible? Or why did he do so many violent acts? This is not about whether or not a God exists. It's about a specific version of God and why that specific version does things that seem to contradict that version. That's all. And the fact that nobody ever noticed before, no, we know that people noticed. And that, again, that is a whole branch of apologetics, explaining why those violent Bible verses are not that bad, or, explaining away the violence. Oh, not that big of a deal. Like those children that were mauled to death by bears because they mocked a prophet of God. Oh, well, they actually were thugs or this or that. We know that you have noticed. Believe me, we know that you have noticed. So again, this is not about atheism in general. It is about one version of one God. And again, a book that you hold up as some perfect truth or some perfect document to examine and have life guidance with. All right, continuing our move counterclockwise. I was raised Christian and I have trauma. They said not to sin. And I don't know why these are lowercase i's. What is this, an E.E. Cummings poem? So the first thing I would say is this is actually not an argument against God at all. You could be raised Christian and then find a new religion. There are plenty of people that converted to Islam or something else, whatever, name it. So this is something that's really anti-Christian and not necessarily an argument against God. It's against a certain version, the Christian God. So let's just go, though, at how dismissive this is of people who have experienced trauma. And I hate to break it to you, Christians, there is a lot of abuse that goes on in your churches. Just do a Google search. Just look up how much abuse has gone on, not just in Catholicism, which is one that's very well known, and of course, the priests were hidden and moved around and so on, but it is in the Southern Baptist Convention. It is in the Jehovah's Witnesses. It is in Mormonism. It is in all kinds of denominations. I cannot tell you how many children were abused sexually and not sexually, and how many adults are actually abused in these churches as well. So the trauma is real, and to be this dismissive of it and say like, oh, that's no big deal, I think that this isn't really something to joke about. And of course, the parens here, they said not to sin. So the implication here is that the trauma is not a real trauma. It is that you want to sin, and being told that you can't do that is a trauma, and that isn't the case at all. So I just find that this is a very dismissive quip, and it's not actually dealing with what is being said here. The other thing that I will say on this is that if you say that being Christian makes you a better person, which is a claim that a lot of Christians make and have made, and yet in your churches there is abuse of all kinds, then there's something wrong with your assertion. Apparently, being Christian does not make people better. There are very abusive people in these systems. In fact, there's a whole study of narcissism that relates to religious narcissism. All right, so I think I made my points here. We're coming to the top of the dial. We're at 12 o'clock, and then we're going downhill from there. So 12 o'clock says, I believe in science, so that means God can't be real. Now, I hate the expression, I believe in science. I don't believe in science. I accept the consensus of scientists, and I am willing to entertain new hypotheses, things that they're studying. These are the experts that are studying things, so I don't believe in science. I don't think this is an argument that atheists actually make. And I know these are supposed to be quippy and everything, like we're in a Sursic video, but like Sursic actually makes sense. This is just bad. I think that what this assertion actually means is the God of the gaps fallacy. So that there are things that people say, well, that God did that. And then we find out, oh no, we have a scientific process, so it can't be God. And we can include all kinds of things from the Greeks used to think that there was a charioteer that dragged the sun across the sky, or that Zeus threw lightning bolts off Mount Olympus. And nowadays people saying that God is the origin of the Big Bang and all this kind of stuff. But once we have a natural process in place, we don't need the God hypothesis anymore. And so I think that that's what is meant here. Like, what is God? Where is God? How can we study God? But I don't know that science has like disproved God, so that's not the point. The point is simply, if you want to say that God did these creative things, I actually have a natural explanation. I don't know why I need the God. But I don't really think this is an argument that atheists make in the way that it is stated here. All right, enough said about that. We are going on the backside of the dial. Your God did a genocide in the big flood, he big meanie. Yeah, I know, I get the cutesy language here. This is funny, but so again, this is not really an argument against God. I mean, I don't know many atheists that say, I don't believe in God because he did a genocide with the flood. What I think is actually going on here is, once again, this tri-omni God that Christians postulate. Why would a flood have been necessary? If he's all-knowing, he should have known what he was creating. Apparently that's not true. If he's all-powerful, there must be a better way than killing like every living being in a horrible death. Drowning is not like some pleasant death, right? And not just humans, all the animals and all the infants. I mean, were the infants all evil? Give me a break. And this language that he's a big meanie, I get the jokiness and the quippiness of it, but this doesn't engage with what a genocide is and what it actually means and why he did it. It doesn't engage with the fact there were probably lots of other ways for him to correct this situation, but the only one that he can think of was to kill everybody except this one family and a bunch of animals and start over. It doesn't engage with the fact that he says that murder is wrong, he's supposed to be all good, and yet he can do murder. And I know that there are excuses about that, but I just don't buy them. But just to reiterate, this isn't about whether a God exists or not, it's about whether or not this story makes sense and the version of your God seems plausible, and it just doesn't. Alright, let's keep going round the dial. We're at number 9. I don't need a God to know murder is bad, parens, don't ask about abortion though. So yeah, that's true. I don't need a God to know murder is bad. I won't be the first person to say that murder is by definition bad. I mean, that's the way we define murder. And I've said this multiple times on this channel. It is not that killing is bad. We define which forms of killing are okay and which forms are not okay. And the ones that are not okay are murder. And so some examples of times when killing is okay. For example, when we want to eat food and we kill animals, that is okay. That is not murder. In war, we do not consider when soldiers kill each other to be murder. And by the way, this parens don't ask about abortion. Yeah, ask about it. I'll talk about abortion. Granted, the YouTube algorithm hates me talking about abortion, but I don't care. Now, I don't define abortion as murder because for me, murder is killing another person who is autonomous and not a fetus in the womb. I don't consider the fetus a person. The fetus is human, of course, but a person is a legal determination, and a person is what happens after a fetus has reached the time to be born and is born. But a fetus in the womb, I don't have a problem with terminating that pregnancy. I don't consider that murder. Just like I would not consider euthanasia murder. If there is a person with a terminal illness or very old or on life support and what they desire is for that to be terminated, I don't consider that murder. It's still killing. But again, murder is when we take someone's life illegally. And there are ways that we can take someone's life that are not illegal. So there's not a contradiction here. These are things that have to be defined. If you want to define abortion as murder, I mean, that's up to your moral system. I think that that's wrong. I actually see having abortion being illegal leads to more death because there are more women whose lives are put at risk, and then a lot of times these fetuses aren't viable and they just suffer horribly for no reason when we could have terminated that a long time ago. But back to the theme of this really isn't an argument against God. It's not like, why don't you believe in God? Well, I don't need da-da-da. This is about when Christians or any religious person, I guess, say you have to get your morals from somewhere. God is the one that puts the morals in you, and I don't think that that's true. I think that we have evolved to have these morals that we have. So once again, not really an argument against God. It's a response to people who say that you can't be a moral person without a God. All right, and the last one on the wheel. If God is real, why don't I have a girlfriend yet? GF, a girlfriend. And ha 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 ha, so quippy, so funny, so like tied to what goes on Reddit. It's just all right, I'm going to steel man this particular position, I guess, and imagine that what is being said here is, why doesn't God answer prayers? And you can fill in girlfriend with whatever, like, why do I have cancer? Or why can't I get rid of cancer? Or why isn't my life perfect? Or why don't I have a pony? Or you fill in the blank. Why doesn't God answer my prayer? And I think, that is a fair point. Again, it's not really an argument against God in general. It's about a specific version of God. If you say you can pray and God answers your prayers, and when I pray I don't get an answer, then there's something wrong with that presupposition, right? That you've told me something that I see is absolutely wrong. I won't go into here on the inefficacy of prayer. You can look up all the studies that say that prayer doesn't work, or the problems with prayer. There is a study about the benefits of prayer, but it wasn't just prayer. It was also meditation or just sitting quietly that said that people had better health outcomes. So if you pray, you have better health outcomes. But again, meditation or sitting quietly had the same benefits. And that's a very selfish reason to pray. Like, oh, if you pray, you'll have better health outcomes. Okay. What I will say, though, is if you think that God answers prayers and then people say he didn't answer my prayer, there is an issue here. And your Bible does say that God will answer your prayers. So there you have it. I guess my main problem with this wheel is that it mixes up a lot of different issues involving primarily Christianity. I mean, this is very Christian-centric here, and other religions would have some of these same objections, so they're not strictly atheistic. And their responses to various claims about the religion, the authenticity of documents, about the particular characteristics of this deity that they worship. And there are several dismissive elements, like, oh, the church never noticed before, or dismissing trauma. But I think that that's all to the purpose of saying, oh, look at these silly atheists. Aren't they so confused about things? And especially this sort of Reddit approach to these quips, I think, is setting up the idea that atheism is about young people who are in rebellion and they're going to come and find the church someday because we have good answers. The reality is, you don't, you ain't got them. Sorry to tell you that. Good luck in the future. Well, there's so much more we could say, but we're going to end it there. What struck you about this atheist argument wheel? Put it in the comments below. I love to read your comments. And while you're down there, if you haven't already, you can like, subscribe, and do all the YouTube stuff. Love it when you do all the YouTube stuff. The YouTube algorithm loves it when you do the YouTube stuff. Everybody loves it when you do the YouTube stuff. And if you like what I do, you can also buy me a coffee. That link is in the description below. Thanks to everybody who's bought me a coffee. It is really, really appreciated. And I will see you in the next one, where we will look at this guy's arguments against atheism, all the arguments that are not answered and the ones that are not you. I'll see you then. Bye for now.